All right. Today we are talking about control. And I posted about this yesterday, right? So, really trying to control everything is an exercise in futility. It just is. We can't control everything. We can control our actions, right? And that is powerful. And this is a big one. And what has happened and why this has come up, and you guys who have been with me, those of you who know me for a long time know this, but those of you who have been listening and watching have seen kind of this journey, and as especially starting this business and being really transparent with all of you guys too as I build this. There are things that they're just gifts that have been given to me that I'm just really really good at. And there's also this whole entrepreneurial thing, especially moving out of corporate, where you get really seated in your comfort zone, right? All the things that other people say you should really be doing because see that's good for them, right? Or that's what they've seen you in your previous life, the things that you should do, you're really good at. And that may be true. It's that whole Gay Hendricks, right? The big leap, that zone of excellence versus your zone of genius. And so this move into bullseye into the zone of genius has been a really interesting process. And it's been up and down. It's been great. It's been crazy. It's been upsetting. It's been exciting. It's been all the stuff, all the things, right? And so as I was going through over Thanksgiving and then the last couple of months, and I don't know if it's the MCT oil that I've been putting in my latte every morning that's giving me kind of this extra energy and this extra focus. I don't know, but somehow catching a gear, I'm just going to ride this gear as long as I got it. But it all just kind of came together. And what I recognized and I wanted to share with all of you guys is part of that all coming together was letting go of trying to control the outcome, right? Trying to control everything that was going to happen, trying to control the how. Because I'm a how person, right? And that's that whole, we've talked about that. That's that whole disconnect. When you're in kind of a corporate setting or in any organization, wherever you're working, nonprofit, for profit, whatever. When you're in one of those settings where it's a big organization, right? As you continue to move and develop and build your career over time, you've got your technical skills that get you in and you continue to build those and grow and continue to get really good at what you do. And as you move up and you get more experience, as you get more responsibility, more accountability, as you move up in an organization, it kind of begins to twist so that, yes, your technical capability is important, that understanding and that experience is important, but what becomes more important is how you get things done, right? How you operate, how you engage with people, how you bring people along with you. All of that stuff becomes much more important, much more critical. And yet, when you are building something, especially in this entrepreneurial space, right? When you are building something, well, you know what? It's also, I would say it's also in organizations. If we get so focused on the how are we going to get this done? We can often lose track of the what. And we get so caught up in the how that we just get buried in the busy. And it's a fine line, right? Because my whole, balance thing, when I'm talking to people and they're all about, here's where we're going, this is the big vision. It's like, that's great, but what are we going to do to get there, right? What's the how? What are the steps we need to take to make that happen? And then if I'm talking to people who are like, we need to do A, then B, then C, then 412, and all this detail, I'm like, okay, that sounds really good, but where are we going? Because is all that stuff going to get us where we're going? Right. So it's that balance of strategy and tactics that's really important for me. Because if you got too much of any of the others, it all falls apart. But the challenge is control. The challenge is control. It is important to control your own actions. And that's where your power is. And if we can change that focus from trying to control the outcome to controlling our actions along the path to our anticipated or expected or desired outcome or destiny, the whole game is changed because that enables you to think differently about the how. As I'm putting these things together, when I first started thinking about it, it first started kind of coming to me about how it would morph and what it would look like. I'm like, oh, okay, but the logo and how's it going to look and how are we going to do it? And I stop, right? And part of that is because I'm changing tech. So you have to have some detailed stuff around that. Like, what are the pieces going to be? Because you got to set your tech up right so that it actually works when people click the button. So that was part of it. But it's easy to get so caught up in that part that it's, wait, stop, just pause, stand back. What is the overall vision? You're like, oh, what is the overall vision? Where are we trying to go? Right? Alignment, vision, then action. Alignment, vision, action. All of this is aligned. Where this is moving, it is so much more aligned. And it's aligned with all of those things that are the innate gifts that I have that I've been able to help other people with by utilizing them, by stepping into this purpose, by taking this leap of faith and just saying, you know what? I am by no means perfect. I don't know everything, but what I do know and what I can do, I do really well. And if I can help someone and serve someone, then I am living into my purpose, and all the other stuff will take care of itself, right? So really understanding that and getting aligned and helping other people getting aligned. Okay, wow, that felt really good. And that's how you know, I've talked about that, right? That's how you know when things are right, is it feels right. You got to do that deep work. You got to be really self-aware. How does it feel? How does it feel? Because I can think myself into or out of anything. I can plan for anything. I can get everything right. Proper prior planning prevents poor performance. I can get everything ready. But what does it feel like? Does it feel like it's right? Does it feel like it's wrong? Does it feel like it's on the right path? Does it feel like I need to adjust or more? What does it feel like to you? If it feels right, okay, well, let me just keep going and keep doing something, being in action. If it doesn't feel right, let me pause, practice the pause, and ask why. Does it not feel right because I just don't feel like it right now? Does it not feel right because it really isn't right? Does it not feel right because I am blocking myself for some reason? Right? Why? Why doesn't it feel right? And then deal with that so then you can move forward. Either make an adjustment or not. But if you let go of the trying to control all of the outcomes and just focus on controlling your actions, which you absolutely do have control over. We have no control over ultimate outcomes because that has so many other factors that don't have anything to do with us. Not a single thing to do with us. The only thing we can really control is us. What we do, how we respond, where we go, where we don't go, what we say, what we don't say. Now, sometimes we say, well, I can really control it. And sometimes we can't, right? We get in that sympathetic nervous system, that fight or flight, right? Where you just got to do something. And it may not be the right thing, but you're in danger or your system says you're in danger. So you got to do something. So we're not always in the most conscious control of our actions, but we can control what we do and what we say and how we say it. You know, I've told you guys a number of times, I don't have a poker face. I just don't. And I'm not going to work to get one. That is just not something that is important to me. It's just not. It's just who I am, right? I don't have a poker face. And I'm mature enough now and old enough now to understand that my choosing not to have a poker face means I have to do something else or live with the consequences of not having a poker face. And I'm okay with that. Because what that tells me is, okay, that work I'd have to do to really get stoic and have that poker face, I'm not doing that, right? I'm just not doing that. But because I know I have a poker face and I know my face reflects what's on my mind most of the time, I can control the words that come out of my mouth and the tone with which I say those words or not, right? But I'm choosing. I'm making a choice. I can control my actions. I can control my words. I can control my tone. I can control whether or not I show up. I can control the things that are within my purview to control. And everything else, I got to figure out how to let it go. And that is not easy. So don't take anything that I'm saying as, snap your fingers, it's easy. It is not easy because I got control issues. And I know some of y'all listen to me because I know some of y'all, as I see your names, y'all got them too, right? We all have some level of control because some of it is about safety, right? Some of it is about planning. We just want to make sure everything's good. You know, we've done all the work. We just want to make sure what we think is going to happen is what's going to happen. Welcome to the real world. There's always something we didn't plan for. There's always something that's going to pop up at the last minute. And while we can't control the thing that popped up, we can control how we respond to it. So part of that proper prior planning, preventing poor performance, It's not so much about focusing on, oh, Laurel, something else happened. You didn't plan for that. How come you didn't see that? Why didn't you? Right? It's not that. It is understanding so much in the plan that something is going to happen at some point to upend it and plan the response, right? Plan to say, you know what? I know something's going to happen. So my plan is when it does, I want to at least have some kind of early notification process. So I know when something's not right, right? Either a gut check or some kind of audit process. I want to know when something's not going the way that I expected or anticipated it going, so that then I can respond. So the plan is not about keeping things from happening, right? It's risk management, not risk elimination, because it's a fallacy to think you can eliminate all risk. That just doesn't happen. The only way you can eliminate all risk is to stay home. And even then, you can have a risk of being in your house, right? So there's no way to, as long as you are still living and breathing, there is no way to eliminate all risk. It's about risk mitigation, right? How are we going to mitigate the risk? Some of them we are going to control. Some of them we're going to eliminate because we're just going to stop doing something, right? But you can't eliminate all risk. You can just mitigate it or manage it. And so if you're thinking about that plan and how you're going to manage what you're going to do next, proper prior planning, preventing poor performance is partly being able to recognize that something went awry. And then what are you going to do about it when it does, right? How can you evaluate quickly and respond quickly? Working in adaptability and flexibility into your plan, right? Maybe that is the plan. Having that level of flexibility and adaptability so that if something happens, if you get additional information after acquired information, if you get some of that, you can adjust without making yourself crazy, without getting into that point that says, oh my gosh, I can't believe, why did that happen? This is not right. Getting into that death spiral of madness. Proper prior planning is knowing something always is going to happen that was unexpected, because people, it just happens. It just happens because people are people. And you're always going to find somebody who's going to do something stupid. Like the person who I was driving behind the other day and put on their left blinker and then turn right out of the left lane. Somebody's always going to do something stupid. Always. So your planning and your controlling is controlling your actions and your response, because I couldn't control that person putting on a left blinker and turning right. I had nothing to do with that. The only thing I can do is control my driving, which I don't always do, to be honest. There are days when people make me so angry, I literally turn around and go home. I can't, right? And having grown up with watch the signs, read the signs, make sure you find a way to get out, make sure you don't get blocked in with, all that stuff playing in your head. When there's lots of traffic, I literally have to talk to myself and say, Laurel, you are leaving at rush hour. Just know you're about to be sitting in stop and go traffic. So I have to have a conversation with myself to get my mind right that I'm going to be creeping. Because if I don't take that time, again, all I can control is me. If I don't take the time to prepare myself mentally for the madness that's going to be out there, then I get in, I'm all nervous, I'm all upset, I'm irritated. I'm probably driving more aggressively than I should be because I'm just trying to get away from all the crazy people. And the only person that I'm putting in danger is me. So stop, right? Get prepared. Control what you can control and let the other stuff just go. And know and have confidence that you have an ability to be aware and to choose and to move, right? To do something different. Now, again, not every choice is a good choice, right? You always have a choice, but there are some good choices and there are some bad choices. And sometimes your choice is between two really bad choices. You're just trying to choose the one that's least bad, right? The least painful, the least disruptive. Sometimes that's the best we can do, is choose the one that's going to cause the least amount of pain. But it's still a choice. And then once we make it, we got to understand what those consequences are so then we can respond to those. All we can control is what we do and how we respond and how we act and how we move and what we say. That's all we can control, right? We can control how we plan. We can control how we move. We can control how we want to take the next steps for what we want to do. We can't control that. We can't control the outcome. We can't control whether or not somebody's going to give us an opportunity. We can't control any of that, but we can control what we do. We can control how we respond. We can control whether or not we decide to stay. And here's the power in that, especially now, right? The war for talent is greater than ever. Organizations are having to make choices as organizations, right? There are individuals within the organizations that are trying to make them, but the organizations are having to make choices around how they want to engage with people who work with and for them. Are having to make choices. Those choices have consequences. There was just a big thing on NPR the other day. I think it's Hidden Brain. It was actually a replay of a show from 2020, I believe. And they were talking about these challenges with working from home and how there's a group of people, right? That's very much like, oh my God, thank God, working from home, this is just awesome. But as time went on, I was like, wait, I don't know, because I'm having to take calls from my bathroom because that's the only place that's soundproof, and my kids are practicing their instruments at this time, and there's all this noise going on, and I can't really focus. And so there is a part of the population that's like, you know what, I want to get back in the office because, you know what, in a way, that's a little bit of self-care too. I get away from all the stuff that's sitting at me at my house that's saying, do this, do this, do this. Did you forget this? You got to do this. Did you make that list? Did you clean that thing? Did you dust that thing? Did you, all of that, right? There is a population that really does find some joy. And I'm not talking about the real extroverted people, right? That are like, oh, got to get back to people. There's another population that's like, no, this has been great. I had a break. Now I need to go back. I need to be back with people. Those itty bitty kids are like, I need to be back with adults, right? I need to have some adult conversation again. Some people are just like, I need to feel somewhat regular. I don't even want to use the word normal. I need to go back. And that control, right, of controlling how we're responding and controlling how people are going to respond to us, all we can do is control what we do. So organizations make these choices about how they want to operate, but they can't control what every person in their organization does. They can't control which people are going to say, that's not going to work for me. Here's my 2 weeks. They can't control the number of people who are actually now going to apply and say, hey, I'll come because I want to come back to the office. You can't control that. You can have data, right? And predictive analytics that can help you kind of understand, if we make this choice, this is maybe what the impact is going to be. We can, talk to people. We can maybe have a conversation with our employees and get an understanding of what might happen when we make the choice. We can plan for the potential fallout from the choice, good and bad, from the choice. But we can't control, and organizations can't control what people do, although they will tell you they can. Because you always have a choice, right? Now, they can control how they respond, right? They can put things in place that mitigate risk for the organization, that manage risk for the organization, that says, here's how we expect you to behave, and here are the consequences of behavior that is contrary to those expectations. They can do that, right? So they can put expectations in place. But even with those, that's not really about controlling you. That's about trying to control the environment. And they can control the environment because if they see behavior that is contrary to the expectations, then they can take action against that behavior or not. But they can't necessarily control every individual and how every individual acts, because every individual has agency. Every individual has a choice in how they're going to show up, if they're going to show up, when they're going to show up, what they're going to do when they show up, how they're going to talk, how they're going to act, what they're going to say. We all have agency to do all of that. Now, if we are aligned with the organization in which we are operating, then we're probably showing up aligned with their expectations, exhibiting the behavior that they are wanting and desirous of for whatever culture, or mission or vision that they have set forth. That's probably happening for the majority of people in a normal curve, right? And then you have the folks on the fringes that aren't going to do that. Some that just aren't going to show up. And then some that are going to show up and cause all kinds of drama, right? And then the organization has to decide what they want to do with that. But the organization can't control your choice. They can't control your choice. They can tell you the consequences of the choice you make with respect to them and their organization, but they can't control your choice. And so that control is a fallacy, right? That's why they call them golden handcuffs for some organizations, especially professional services. It's big in investment banking too. Those places where you get paid lots of money, right? Big bonuses. When big energy companies, that used to call themselves oil and gas until they realized that, oh, you know what? There's going to be a movement away from fossil fuels. So we probably should embrace this whole energy thing. We're just not going to tell people. So we can still have those folks who are yelling and screaming oil and gas. We're not going to actually, that aren't paying attention to the fact that we're also investing heavily in renewables because, we've gotten intellectually lazy. We have those organizations that can pay crazy, crazy, crazy money and crazy bonuses, right? And by doing so, they hope to impact their turnover rates, right? And their loyalty, their fealty to the organization. So we call it golden handcuffs because it is a difficult choice, especially depending on where you are in your life. It's a difficult choice to leave good money, to leave money that is supporting you a lifestyle that you love, that is enabling you to put aside that college fund quicker than you ever thought possible, to pay off that car, to buy that house, whatever your thing is, right? It is hard to walk away from that. That's why they call them golden handcuffs, right? Those big parachute payments. It's hard to walk away from that stuff. And companies know that. They absolutely know that. But they can't control what you do with that. They can make it a difficult choice for you. And they can make it one of those choices where culturally it's like, are you nuts? Because I heard that a lot when I decided to leave. What? Wait, what? Do you know what this position is? Do you know what the opportunity? Yes, I absolutely do. I absolutely do. And I'm making a choice that makes sense for me. And I understand the consequences of that choice very clearly, very, very clearly. Because see, I've done the deep work. And I knew I understood and was making the right one because I had so much peace. I wasn't angry. I wasn't upset. I didn't have any of that. I just knew. I just knew. And so when you are looking at trying to control some things, right? That's why I say you got to pause. Just pause. Pause a minute and breathe. And then feel. And then think. Because most of us can think our way into or out of anything. But what is that little voice telling us? Be still so you can hear. Be really still so you can hear, because it's in the stillness where those amazing things come. There was something that happened. I woke up for some reason. I woke up at 2:00 this morning, and I was working with a client yesterday, and something came to me at 2:00 this morning that I'm going to send her. I was like, I should not send this to her right now. So I'm going to send it to her later today. I'm like, oh, this is an aha. And so I'm going to send it to her. It came to me at 2:00 in the morning. That's what happens when it's quiet and still, when you can really hear and listen, when your mind is still. That's when those amazing things happen. That's when the clarity happens. When you're not trying to push something through or think something so hard, right? Or you're not trying to push the how, and you're not trying to control the outcome. When you're just letting things happen, when you are just moving in action, it is incredible. I mean, I'm telling you guys, I don't know how this gear just happened, but whatever this gear is, I am just going to ride it into 2020. But things have just gotten to be so clear. So clear. Now, I've also been really judicious, not perfect, but really judicious about that journaling time, right? That quiet time, how I'm setting up my day. I've got to finish doing that today. I did not do it early because, car. So I had to take my car in this morning. So I did not get up early enough to do it. Plus waking up at 2:00. I was like, wait. So they started off a little funky. Crazy Tuesday, turned up Tuesday, tipsy Tuesday. But that has also worked, right? Because you can't control everything around you, but you can control you. And so spending that time in just quiet meditation, journaling, knowing I have a messy mind, what do I do to unmess the mess and enable myself to be really clear and really focused, right? To hear the messages I'm supposed to hear means I've got to declutter. The other thing that happened is because I had all those people come in at Thanksgiving, I had that impetus to really, really get some of my clutter gone. I've got a clutter issue, but it is also an early warning signal for me. We've talked about that, right? How you got to know yourself well enough to know what your early warning signs are. And for me, one of my early warning signs of being in a mode where I'm not like focused is the clutter is out of control. Cluttered desk, cluttered mind. I can always tell when I'm unfocused, when things are just off kilter, because my space around me is off kilter. And when it is clean, when I can see space, when I can see open space, it's like my mind opens up. So for you, what is that thing you can control that enables you to open up that space to move wherever it is you desire to move? Or not. It could be by opening up that space. What you really find is, you know what? My desire is really just to sit. My desire is to just dig in to where I am, to put everything I have into what I'm doing. That's it. Because what the control issue is and the messiness is me trying to do all kinds of other stuff that really isn't what my heart's desire is or what makes sense at the moment, but I'm putting a lot of supposed to's on myself. I'm supposed to be doing all this other stuff. And so now I'm cluttered and my mind is cluttered and I'm trying to make it work and I'm trying to force it and it's not working and I get more frustrated. So I try to force it more. That's control, right? We think we can control the outcome. But sometimes the other reason you don't try to control the outcome is it could be that outcome is not the outcome that's intended. There could be something completely different that's out there that's meant for you, that you're supposed to be doing, that you're supposed to be focused on, that you're supposed to be working on and making happen. But if we don't get still, if we don't really focus on just our actions and how those actions make us feel, where those actions move us, what information we are getting that informs our actions on our way to our anticipated outcome, right? The thing that we have desire to have happen. If we can focus on those actions, that enables us to have a little bit more freedom around the outcome, a little bit more flexibility, a little bit more adaptability, planning for the risks that may happen, planning for the unexpected, planning for the amazing learning and opportunity that may come out of that unexpected. Not everything that's unexpected that happens is awful or is catastrophic. In fact, most things are not necessarily catastrophic. We just make them catastrophic. And so I've gotten to the place where if there's not blood on the floor and bones sticking out, I have to dial it back. If someone is not, including myself, not in imminent danger, I have to dial it back and just decide what the priority is. Because we can turn things up into crisis mode, and then we're in this fevered pitch, fight or flight, and we're ready to just make some stuff happen. We're not paying attention. We're not thinking. We're in emotion. We're operating in emotion. Not all bad, but not necessarily something we can control, right? When we're way emotional, we're not necessarily in control, which means we can't necessarily control our actions, which is the whole point. Because all you can control is you. All you can control is your response. All you can control is your words, right? That's all you can control. Everything else is out of your control. As they say, what other people think about me, what other people do, is none of my business. My business is me. How I act, where I'm going, what I do, how I show up, right? Am I a person of my word? Is what people see what they get when they work with me? Am I operating in integrity? Am I vulnerable and humble? Am I honest? And that's why you guys know that I am in therapy and love it. Love my therapist and doing deep work, right? And having the confidence to walk your own journey, to control your own journey is critical. It's absolutely critical. Had a conversation with somebody not too long, actually with 2 or 3 people lately, because I do talk about therapy a lot. I think it's really important, even if therapy's not your thing, just to find some way to make sure that if you're in a really weird space, that you get some help, whatever that is, right? Even if that is additional guided meditation for you, whatever your thing is, it doesn't have to be therapy, but just don't wallow alone, right? Don't suffer alone, because there are options. But I was having a conversation with a few people about this, and they're like, "Yeah, but you shouldn't have to be with someone or seek counseling or things for long periods of time. You just shouldn't. That's just, something's wrong if you're in that. There's a dependency there." And I had to pause when I saw that, because my first response, what? But I had to pause with that because there is some validity to that. If you are just in it, there is some validity to, wait a minute, why are you continuing to do this for 20, 30, 40 years? What's the deal? And I actually had a conversation with my therapist about it. I'm like, I'm assuming, number one, you tell me if I've actually grown dependent upon you, because that's a problem. And she pointed out something to me that I thought, you know what, that's also about control, which is it was a very interesting perspective on that, the Rutledge perspective. Very interesting perspective. And she said, Laurel, the issue is not about the length of time, right? And how long and whether or not you're dependent. It is what you have set out as the goal of the help. So if your goal is to understand your situation and to understand triggers, and then to find tools to address those symptoms, then yeah, that can be really quick. You got the tools, you're ready to go, you're good to go. But if your desire is to do deeper work, your desire is to get closer into and deeper into whys and wherefores and anticipatory kind of stuff, not just understanding and recognizing triggers and being able to respond to those symptoms, but actually being able to get to the root causes so that you can manage the symptoms or eliminate symptoms, that's a different kind of work. And then some of it morphs into coaching, right? Some of it morphs into something completely different depending on what you want. Sometimes you leave one kind of assistance and move to a different kind of assistance. Sometimes you have one coach and you move to a different coach, right? That's why coaches need coaches. That's why therapists need therapists. That's why physicians need physicians. Because we can't control everything, even though we try to. But how can we get at least an understanding of where we are, why we are, and why we are trying to control what we're trying to control, and what the impact is, so we can do something different if we need to. Right? It's really, really critical that you give yourself that gift of understanding where and why for and how come and if, and really focus on you and what you control. It's a form of self-care. Knowing that you can only control your actions and how you feel and what you do, that's a level of self-care. That doesn't mean that the things that other people do to you and around you and for you and with you don't impact you. Absolutely. Because we do not operate in vacuums, right? We are all somehow connected. What's done to one of us is done to all of us, right? What one person does impacts numbers of people. We are kind of this community of human beings. So it is easy to be impacted by others. That's real. And what's real is our response to that. How we control it, how we manage it, how we respond to it, what choice we make, and whether or not we're even going to absorb it, right? Just because someone says something to you doesn't mean you have to own that. You do not have to co-sign on somebody else's mess, just like they don't have to co-sign on yours. You don't have to get in the boat with everybody, right? We've talked about before, you have those employees or colleagues or friends or acquaintances, right? That every single time you have a conversation, it's drama. Something is wrong, something's bad, they're being put upon, life is bad, just all of that. And it can just be more than a notion. It can be more than an ocean. But you don't have to co-sign on all that. You don't have to get in the boat with that. You absolutely do not have to get in that boat. You don't have to take the call. You don't have to respond. You don't have to do any of that. You choose how you want to engage in that situation. Where does that friendship sit for you, right? Where does that connection sit? Can you be of assistance? Can you not be of assistance? Are you wanting to give advice? Do you not? Can you, if you're going to control it, can you just say, hey, do you need me to help you with a solution, or are you just venting just so I get my mind right, right? How transparent can you be in that situation so that you are taking care of you, putting your mask on first so that you can show up 100% for everybody else too? You can't serve from an empty cup. We try really hard to give that last drop of energy to whoever needs it. And yes, there is just beauty in that, of just doing everything you can to help somebody. But at some point, you have got to refuel. At some point, you've got to take back control of your own mental, physical, financial, emotional, psychological well-being. Because if you don't, no one else will. Just like that meme says, if you don't take care of your wellness, it will force you to take care of your illness. Mental, physical, emotional, financial, whatever, right? If you don't take care of you, something's going to happen to force you to address whatever it is. It always does. Something always happens to bring stuff full forward. It always occurs. We can try to run, but it is going to catch up with you at some point. So that's why when you think about planning, and when I think about planning, at least as I've gone into this year and getting ready for 2022, and I'm stoked about 2022. Again, y'all know my big question is why. I don't know why I'm so stoked, but I am stoked about 2022, and I'm just going to keep riding this wave. I'm going to keep riding it, because there's going to be those moments when I'm like, really, 2020, really? I know that's coming. But I'm going to sit in this other stuff to get really clear and get really grounded, so that when those times do come, I can go back to that stuff that grounds me, right? That's the key. Having that stuff that really grounds you. So when the moments are bad, when the moments are hard, you got something to go back to lift you back up. And I'm stoked about it. But it's also about really releasing control. Releasing control. I cannot control half this stuff I've been trying to control for the last 5 years as I started this business. Actually, more than half. I can't control. Actually, very little of it. Very little of it can I actually control. I can only control how I show up, when I show up, if I show up, what I say, how I do. I can only control me. I can only control me, and put it out there with the best of intentions, right? Put it out there with a philosophy of service, right? Put it out there knowing what the ultimate goal is, and stepping out on faith and knowing where my heart is. I can only do that. And then be able to respond appropriately to whatever comes. That's all I can do. And that's all that any of you can do. You can only control you. You can influence others, right? You can impact others. That's what they call them, influencers, right? You can have an impact on others. You can, through your presence, right? And probably through some power that you have, that big P word, you can influence others. You can have an impact on others, but everybody has agency. We all have choices. Even your children have choices. Now, because they respect you, right, and you're their parents and all this kind of stuff, they, in general, will do what you ask them to do because of that relationship. But that doesn't mean they don't have choices. They do. Even little kids have choices. Each human being has agency. And so we can only control who we are and what we do and how we respond and how we show up. That's all we can do. And give ourselves some grace in doing that, because it is no guarantee that life is going to be easy or life is going to be simple. In fact, there's a guarantee that it's not. But that doesn't mean it has to be impossible. I like to live in possibilities. Glass half full, like to live in possibilities. So, what are y'all doing to get ready for 2022? Because we literally have 3 weeks? Oh, Christmas is week after next, y'all. Christmas is week after next. Help me. Christmas is week after next. See, I can't control that either. So what are you guys doing to get ready to set yourself up for an amazing 2022? How are you getting your teams ready? How are you giving your teams some appreciation at the end of the year for having made it through another year? How are you getting them to rest and rejuvenate and regroup and do some self-care at the end of the year so they can show up strong and ready and rested? How are you demonstrating your leadership and your concern with them? How are you exercising your choices in a way that demonstrates true leadership, right? Authenticity, clear expectations. It's not unkind to be clear. Compassion. You don't have to just love people. You can be compassionate. You can be kind without being best friends with everyone. Being best friends is not a requirement. But it is important to be kind and compassionate, to have some empathy. How are you setting yourself up? How are you setting the people up around you? How are you showing up as a leader, which is about behavior, not about position? And I'm actually going to talk about that. I was going to talk about it this week, but this control thing came up. I actually want to talk about that leadership as we get into the last part of the year, in these last couple of weeks, and the difference between tactical experience and leadership experience. Because just because you're a good practitioner, just because you're a good tactician, just because you've got great technical skills and great expertise does not mean you're going to be a great leader. In fact, most of the time, that is not the case. Some, because they don't really want it, they just feel compelled to be the leader and to lead people. But sometimes because they've been pumped up about how great they were as a practitioner, that there's this mental philosophy that, oh, well, I was good at that, so I'm automatically going to be good at the other thing, without doing the work, without paying attention, without making any effort. So just because you're good at doing the thing doesn't mean you're good at leading people. And you can do more damage as a horrible leader than you can as a so-so practitioner. Horrible leadership, as we have seen over the last couple of years, can really, really make a significant impact, significant negative impact, broadly, globally, on things. Leadership is key. And poor leadership is so impactful. It's so impactful. And we have choices. You have a choice in how you show up. And if you are working for poor leaders, you have a choice in speaking truth to power. You have a choice in speaking truth to power. Now, you got to understand the consequences of your choice. You got to know which organization you're in and what situation you're in, what culture you're in. But leadership is about behavior. It's not about position. And sometimes you got to speak that truth to power, right? You cannot control what they do when you speak your truth. You absolutely cannot. All you can control is you speaking your truth so that you can show up 100%. 100% as you. Good days, bad days, okay days, somewhat days, but it's always you. It's always you. And that's the best you can do, right? That is the best you can do, is just be you. What is that saying? Be you because everybody else is taken. Just be you. Be the best you can be. So I'd love to know what you're doing to set yourself up for 2022. What you're going to be doing. What you're going to be doing different. What you're going to be doing the same. What you're excited about. Because there's already enough stuff that's weighing us down. What are you excited about for 2022? Because I am claiming it is going to be a good year. A good year. And I know Jerry's claiming it too.
Definitely.
That it's going to be an excellent 2022. So I want to thank you guys for tuning in. Thank all of our global folks for tuning in. Thank all of my Odessa and Kentucky folks for tuning in. We got questions.
You have a first-time listener, Tanisha Haggerty.
Hi, Tanisha. Thank you for tuning in.
So I love it. Speaking directly to her.
Oh, thank you. I'm so glad it resonated.
Michelle Johnson says, physically, I've joined the gym a month ago. I'm tired of taking medication and I'm getting my health in order.
Hey, honey, I'm right there with you. We're going to do it together. We're going to do it together. I am back on the train. Back on the train. Been doing my rowing. Got a challenge from my trainer that I'm way behind on already. So we're gonna make it happen. So guys. Thank you. Thank you for first-time listeners. Thank you to our global listeners. So really appreciate y'all tuning in to the Rutledge Perspective Radio Show here on KCOH TV Radio, The Boost. Thank you for everybody who showed up. Thank you for my sponsors for 2021. I'm excited to have some new sponsors for 2022. You can sponsor the show if you go to my website, laurelrutledge.com, and go under radio show. There's a place you can click to sponsor. If you would like to do so, I would love to have you. I think that's it, y'all. Go get registered. Vote, vote, vote. Florida, New Hampshire, New Jersey, New Mexico, Washington, Seattle. Y'all got stuff going on today. Get out there. January 1, last day to register for March 1, 2022 elections. Go get it done by New Year's Eve. Go get it done. All right, y'all. Love ya. Thank you. See you next week. Bye.